All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're unpacking the absolutely wild Tech Reader AI Digest from June 24th, 2026. If you've been following the industry lately, you can literally feel the shift in the air, right? We are officially leaving the era of theoretical hype and endless speculation. Instead, as this digest so perfectly captures, the AI industry has crashed headfirst into a high-stakes reality. We're talking legal filings, strict regulatory lockdowns, and massive infrastructural plays. Let's break down exactly how this maturation is playing out across the entire board. And honestly, nothing grounds this new industry anxiety in cold, hard data quite like this exact number. Over $2 million. That is the massive volume being traded on Polymarket right now. And the bet? People are literally wagering millions on whether Anthropic's banned Fable 5 model will ever actually come back online. I mean, when millions of dollars are changing hands just trying to guess if a previously ubiquitous AI model will be legally allowed to exist again, you know for sure the ground rules have fundamentally changed. Which brings us to the absolute core question of this explainer. What exactly happens when the entire AI ecosystem hits a regulatory and developmental wall at full speed? We've spent years watching these models get bigger, faster, and smarter practically overnight. But what happens when the code is ready to ship, but the social, legal, and governmental infrastructure just isn't?
Let's start by looking at governance and the social contract.
The whole move fast and break things mentality? Yeah, that's officially over. Government interventions and corporate disclosures are rapidly cementing the very real, very heavy legal weight of artificial intelligence. Take the current Anthropic situation. We are now on day 12 of a complete U.S. government-ordered blackout for their Fable 5 and Mythos 5 models. And what's incredibly deafening here is the absolute silence from both Washington and Anthropic. Zero press releases, which almost certainly means some incredibly tense negotiations are happening behind closed doors. For now, everyone is just falling back on the older Opus 4.8. Those prediction markets we just talked about, they're currently forecasting about 55 to 57% odds of a July 1st restoration, but a July 8th date is looking way more structurally likely, specifically tied to a US first partial rollout using Anthropic's new Persona ID verification. Now, listen to this precise phrasing. Has resulted and may continue to result in reductions to our workforce. That's not a rumor. I am reading that exactly as it appears in Oracle's June 22nd SEC annual filing. Over the past year alone, Oracle's global workforce dropped from roughly 162,000 people down to 141,000. So, why is this such a big deal? Because AI job displacement is no longer just some theoretical debate for think tanks or a casual remark on a quarterly earnings call. It is a legal 10K disclosure. When a massive enterprise software giant like Oracle officially puts a claim about AI displacing jobs into a legally binding regulatory document, the downstream employment consequences of AI are officially priced in. The debate is over, the legal reality has arrived.
Moving right along to product pivots and market sentiment.
So the regulatory wall is just one hurdle, right? That developmental wall is another beast entirely. Missed delivery windows and totally shifted product updates are causing a polite but very real frustration across the developer ecosystem. The highly anticipated late June launch window for OpenAI's GPT 5.6 has officially collapsed. Prediction odds just plummeted from 83% down to a dismal 18% in a matter of days. And what did developers get instead? A quote-unquote fun personality update for GPT 5.5 Instant. Now, to be fair, this update does genuinely improve intent recognition, like figuring out if you want a quick factual answer or emotional support. And it retires the Canvas feature in favor of inline coding. But let's be real, it's just trivial consumer polish compared to the actual frontier model developers were promised. Now, missing an ideal launch window isn't a total disaster for OpenAI. The model will eventually ship when the alignment fixes are fully baked. But the rapid collapse of developer sentiment proves just how incredibly fast this market reacts when a promised window shuts without delivery. The June window is completely gone. July is the new line in the sand, and that's now backed by 94% Polymarket odds. Next up, we have the enterprise walls and vertical stacks. So how exactly is the industry pivoting around these delayed timelines and government shutdowns? Well, they're building massive, heavily gated vertical stacks. Just look at the performance jump we're seeing. OpenAI recently launched GPT 5.5 Cyber, and it just achieved the highest CyberGem score ever recorded for a single model, at 85.6%. That noticeably beats the standard GPT 5.5, which was sitting at 81.8%. It also crushed it with a 39.5% on ExploitGem and almost 70% on SecBench Pro.
That is a massive, massive leap in capability.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. You cannot just log in and use it. This model is locked down under the Trusted Access for Cyber program. OpenAI isn't sitting around waiting for the Commerce Department to tell them how to secure frontier models. They are proactively gating these advanced cybersecurity capabilities behind incredibly strict institutional vetting and human oversight. We're talking limited access to cleared partners only, like Akamai, Cisco, Cloudflare, CrowdStrike, and Oracle.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk is busy building a full-on fortress of his own. When you stack up his recent strategic plays, the picture of a massive vertical integration becomes crystal clear. First, you've got the $60 billion pending acquisition of Cursor, which completely locks down the developer tooling layer. Second, you have xAI operating as the frontier model lab. And third, the massive new $6.3 billion compute deal with Reflection. This is a brilliant move that transforms xAI's Colossus supercomputer from just an internal training tool into a massive revenue-generating platform, competing directly against infrastructure giants like AWS and Azure. It's literally a full-stack play being assembled right before our eyes.
Finally, let's wrap up with the global AI market shifts. All of these changing dynamics, the regulations, the delays, the gated stacks, they're sending rapid-fire shockwaves across the broader tech landscape. The sheer scale of movement right now is wild. Up top, DeepSeek is actively stepping in to evaluate GitHub Copilot, while developers displaced by that Fable 5 shutdown are migrating in droves to open-source models like GLM 5.2. We're also seeing massive corporate consolidation, like the $20 billion pending merger for Cohere and Aleph Alpha. Down in the enterprise space, Presight AI is securing real-world deployments with a huge banking deal at Banco Santander and agent rollouts across over 100,000 SMEs. And finally, we're seeing the steep cost of stumbling in this market. Google's Gemini 3.5 Pro is stuck in limited enterprise preview, which caused Alphabet stock to tank 7.2% intraday following some key executive departures. Which leaves us with one final huge question for today's explainer. Look at the landscape we've just uncovered. The frontier of this technology is no longer just about who has the cleverest code or the coolest demo. So are you ready for a future where AI is fundamentally defined by legal SEC filings, strictly gated corporate access, and massive vertically integrated infrastructure? The reality check is officially here. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and definitely keep your eyes on how these physical and legal walls continue to reshape the tools we're going to use tomorrow.